Hey everybody, it's Doug here, Doug Mystic Guy and Board Game Geek, bringing you back for another gameplay session. This one is going to be of a game that I picked up recently via Kickstarter. It is called Shadows Over Westminster. It's a modern horror adventure board game by Robert Huss, and it takes about 45 to 90 minutes, 1 to 4 players, 12 plus. You know, I'm always looking for games that scratch the itch of Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror without taking hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay. This one looks to be a little shorter. I'm not sure, but it does seem to try and scratch that itch with some different mechanics and some different beliefs and philosophies of how it plays out. It's kind of neat. Anyway, we're going to get set up in this session here. I'm going to talk a little bit about the gameplay. I'm not going to go over too many of the rules because you'll get to see that as we play, but what I will do is kind of finish the setup. I left some things open on the setup so you could see them. And I want to explain some things to you, so we'll get started right now. So let's talk about first what you're trying to accomplish in the game. So like many games like this, what you're trying to do is complete an investigation of some sort, and you're trying to uncover there's some great doom that is a cataclysmic doom that is coming to the world, and we have to uncover what it is. And to do that, we're going to play agents, and these agents, there's 4 of them. There's the Watcher, the Knight Templar, which we'll be playing in this session, but there's also the Illuminati Shadow, or actually Illuminati, and the Outsider. Now, each character has 2 sides, and each side has a different special ability. So, in this side, the Illuminati Presence is a character named Calypso, who has sleight of mind, and cutting the red tape, the master ability. And you'll see how I'll explain how you get the master abilities later. You notice this is done like a cell phone, kind of neat. So it's a little modernized version of these things. They also have a story about them. So if you take Milena, she has media manipulation and media control, so she's that character. Now we're going to go over the specifics of our character as well. But so basically, we're going to play 1 of 4 characters. Each character again has two different sides that give them different abilities. And what we're trying to do is first uncover some type of horrible cataclysm that's going to come about. We don't get to uncover it right away though. Okay, and we have to get our knowledge up, and that's going to be important. So, and our knowledge is basically, you're going to get to see that too, but it's way up here on this university track that we have. And basically this is a very, very generic or loose interpretation of London. So we have these different things that we have to do, and sometimes they'll break the rules. And I'm not going to read them to you, because if you do get the game, you'll get a little bit of surprise of seeing what's coming up, because I'm not going to look at them. But basically, we're going to have one of these on the board, and there's a bunch. Now, there are several types. Now, these ones are betrayal ones, meaning that there's a possibility, if they're mixed into all the different into the deck of them, that there's a possible outcome where the character you're playing, the Illuminati for instance, the Templars, the Outsiders, the Watchers, betray the other characters. Now, since we're playing a 2-player game and I'm playing it by myself, I'm not going to include these. I'm going to make it completely cooperative. But that's okay, because you think, well, how much is that taken away from the game? Well, not a bunch. There's literally a ton of them. And they all do something different. And we don't know what they are. We're not going to know what they are until we reach a certain point on a certain track. Now, this is sort of, well, it is. It's a deck builder, deck manipulation game, I guess is the way to put it. And we're going to have a hand of cards we're going to beef up over time that allows us to play investigations. Now, you see, we already have a couple of investigations on the board. This is the area where we go to investigate. The warehouse in the underground, which represents generically, not specifically, areas of London where things have been abandoned and dilapidated, and these things can happen under the noses of the people. So, for instance, now this is how this started. We got occult activity there in these, and they have an investigation score. And what we're trying to do is play cards from our hand that can overcome this investigation with our characters. And if we do that, then we get to remove darkness tokens and that could consume or engulf these these locations and make it bothersome for us. We also have some places that we can visit that do some things for us, like the agency and the museum, which is part of how I'm going to complete the setup, and you'll see what that looks like in a minute. In the meantime, our events are going to come from this darkness deck here, which will eventually lead to the end of the world for us if too many of these darkness end up on the cataclysm, which can be possible. In fact, we can even lose the game prior to even revealing the cataclysm, to putting darkness tokens out to actually creating exposure or things like so we have these exposure cards that basically clutter our hand and say like that we're starting to our secretive supernatural world is starting to seep into the real world, and that's causing problems. We also have these talismans which equal additional investigations, and they're research things. So this, you can see that it has an investigation value. And we have some other cards like these artifacts that will go out on the board. Let's take a look at our characters. That'll give you also a better idea of how we're going to play. This is our first character. I chose the Watcher, Gregorius. It says, stories say the Order of the Watchers began with angels sent to watch over mankind. Their descendants carry on the legacy, ever vigilant sentinels against the forces that threaten our world. Okay, he's got crafted luck. It says at the start of your turn you may draw one card from your deck, then place one card from your hand back on top of your deck. So you kind of get to do some deck manipulation there. And Eidetic memory. You may play personal case logs as one investigation each. And the personal case logs are some special cards that we can get, or that we have, that we can play in a part of our hand. Now again, there is a second character, the Rogue Watcher, which is different. We're not going to be playing that person. And it also comes with a rather decently done actually pretty good sculpted miniature for each of the characters. Okay, and then we're going to place them on the board at some point during the setup. The other character we're going to play is Alexandria. Sorry, my shirt got caught on the camera stand. She is a Knight Templar. It says, sworn to protect the legacy of humanity, from all that is evil. The chosen few Knights Templar can see the secrets hidden behind the darkest of shadows, and have guarded against the dark powers for over a millennium. Okay, her abilities, Alexandria's abilities, are Shield of Faith. When you play the last card in a completed investigation, and you'll understand that when we play, you may remove one darkness from another location. It's a very good ability. And then Armor of Conviction is her master ability. Now you don't get these right away. We have to build up our knowledge, which requires us to do things at the university. And you'll see how that works. When you draw a darkness card, you may choose to ignore its effects and place it on the bottom of the darkness deck, then draw a second one and resolve it. Well, that's the typical, I'm going to try and manipulate the worst circumstance and keep it from happening type deal, right? And then each of the characters have a set of cards. And we're going to shuffle these cards, and I figure, it doesn't say this expressly, but I figure you have to draw from the bottom because the cards don't have the same symbols on them. But we have our basic investigations, which are worth one investigation that we're going to play in front of ourselves when we're trying to investigate one of these areas and get points, basically. Okay, and then we have these personal case logs, which you can see are one investigation as well. These are research, and we're going to have a hand of these to play. And first we just start with these ones. It's the same one for both characters, but they're also special abilities. So the Watcher has, see these special abilities here that we can draw from, and then the Templar also has a set of abilities that we can draw from. I gotta set them up right, but basically you get the idea. There's special abilities for each of the characters. And then we also have some of these advanced techniques, which are additional investigations that we can get later on by doing research in the university and that sort of thing. So that is basically how that all works for us, and we are going to get started with the final parts of our setup. So let's do that. There's a couple things left that I had to do. One of them was pick our Cataclysm. We're not going to pick it. We're not going to know what it is, but I just wanted to show you the difference between the Betrayer cards and the regular ones. There's a bunch of them, so we're just going to kind of shuffle these up, and we're going to. And we don't know what it's going to be, and we won't know. We will eventually find out well before the end of the game, hopefully, theoretically, if I can play half decent. Now, again, this is a learning experience. I haven't played this game other than to do some test runs. So this is our first play together, but we're going to take this one, and it's going to go right there. And whatever that is what we're going to be facing. Let's put the rest of them right up at the top for now. That was one part of the thing that we had to finalize for the setup. The other part I thought I'd leave for all of us to share in is loading up the museum with artifacts, and these are artifacts, and they do different things. So, for instance, we're going to take our first one. I'm going to show you what it is. It is the Mask of Tutankhamun. You notice it's on some kind of device, like a video device or something. It has some things it can do. It can provide research, but it says once per turn you may trash an exposure card from the top of your deck, and again, like I said, exposure cards or trash one exposure from the top of your deck. Okay, because we're going to see it, right? We can see that the top of the deck is an exposure card. So that's good. That's something that we can do that's useful. And we're going to have 3 of these out. So the next one is going to be the Spear of Destiny. It says worth 1 investigation towards any current investigation. That's helpful in our hand, right? And then we also have the Dropa Stones. It says you do not take exposure when leaving an investigation. And what that means is if we leave an investigation before it's complete, we're going to take one of these exposure tokens. Okay. And then we have these are, I can't remember what they're called. I gotta look them up, but they're basically, let me get the deck out. These are the problems that we're going to face, and they're called, I think, they are called disturbances. And these are the things that we're going to be challenged with, and they're set up in a way that basically are random. So, that's what we're going to do. Now, again, just to give you some ideas, there's several locations on the board, and they do different things. So, obviously, we talked about the museum. If one of our players is at the museum, they can spend to buy one of these cards. It's that simple. And again, like the investigations, the bottom number is the cost, and the top number is a value of what it can be worth to us in certain scenarios. So you can see that this card here, it can be used for research, but it can also be used as an investigation. So basically there's 2 types of currency. There's investigation and research. Research gets us things up there, and investigations help us with these areas. So the warehouse and the underground. The warehouse means that whatever's investigation is there, you have to complete it by yourself. Now that means you could stay there more than 1 turn, but if the longer you stay there, the more exposure can occur. So you have to try and take care of it rather quickly. And then the underground means that you can team up on the ones in the underground and face them together. Now currently there's only 1, but as we move there, more will appear. Okay, yeah. So basically, now what we're going to do, we're also going to be adding darkness tokens. These are black cubes, look like this, and we're going to add them there when the darkness deck tells us to, or when some other events perhaps tell us to. Maybe the cataclysm. I don't know what the cataclysms do. The only place that doesn't get any darkness is the museum. The warehouse and the underground do, and when they become basically engulfed in darkness, then something happens, and we'll talk about that later. The university can have that happen too. So basically these are the 2 locations where our investigations take place. The underground is one that we can tackle together, or multiple ones, and they do add up. So when we come here, we're going to add one, and it's going to add to this, making it tougher. Or we can tackle individual ones here and go to the museum to buy things. The other 2 locations, well, 3 locations on the board actually are all very important. So the university is where we gain knowledge, and we'll see how that goes during the play there. So if my character is there, I can spend some certain cards. Now this determines right now what our hand size is, which is 3. If I can get 2 card, I think they're disturbance cards. I got to look it up. Cash them in here. I can boost my knowledge up and get a 4th. This one I'm going to get a 5th, but that also is the time that we turn over our cataclysm. Then on the 4th, you see unlock our master ability. So when I showed you your character, we had 2 abilities. The bottom one's the master ability, and then lastly, if we get all the way up to there, we get a 6th. We get to have a hand of 6 cards, which allows us to really go after the cataclysm itself. Because the cataclysm itself, and I'll show you one of the betrayer ones so you can see, requires a number of investigations based on the player. So we're 2 players in this, so it will be the lowest amount. In most cases, in all cases, I believe, I think. I don't know if the other ones say 1 or not, but obviously in the betrayers you need to have more than 1 player. So I think the other ones do say 1. Anyway, that's how we defeat it, through the spending of investigations. Okay, I think well, then you got the agency. The agency is a place where we can do a number of things. We can rest, which allows us to dump some cards, get some new cards, things of that nature. And each of these has a pretty big explanation in the book and a little storyline. I think as we first visit them in the game, I'll read you the story and tell you what you can do there. But so, again, so for the university, we can increase our knowledge. But at the agency, we can do a number of things. We can research and investigation ability. It means we can spend 2 research to gain an advanced technique, and I showed you those are over here. There's a couple of advanced techniques there. Yeah, and we can take one investigation card from your agent's special investigation deck, but we have to buy it, and they cost a lot. So, yeah, and so they cost, I think, four research. And that's basically how the game works. Okay, now you can see that now these cards, these disturbance cards, most oftentimes don't do anything for us. They're just stories. We just have to defeat them, investigate them, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it as well. So basically that, I think, ends the setup portion of the game. We also, like I said, we get these talismans that aid us in research and can be used in different ways. We get all kinds of things. More stuff will come out as we play. It's a pretty straightforward game. There's some, again, being a Kickstarter, one of the things that I love and hate about Kickstarters, Kickstarter puts out some really unique games, some really awesome stuff. I think this is probably one of them. But, you know, like games that are produced by people who are just starting in the industry or whatever, there's going to be some weird mistakes. Heck, you even find typos in major publications, or major publishers as well. But in this case, there's, like this one just cuts off at the end. So it says, the investigation is abandoned and all disturbance cards at that. I can make some assumptions of what happens after that. I think at that location are then discarded. Because that's, well, you'll understand how that goes as we move along. And so, like I said, I think when we visit each location is when I'll actually talk about what those locations do for us. And it's going to start with our hands. Now, there is a particular way that you play your cards out and everything, and I'll show you the player area because it is important. So if you look right here, you can see that you have your played artifacts right there. Your investigations go right on the top, the ones that you are spending at the location you're on. Because remember, if you leave the location, you discard them. Your deck, and this is a reserve card, meaning when you have to discard at the end of your turn, which I'll go over the turnover order last, then you can keep one of those cards in reserve if you really want it. And you have a discard pile on the other side of the card, and that's the play area. Now, just going over the turn orders, let's see if that, yeah, there's a turn somewhere in the back. So the first thing we're going to do with our characters is reveal the darkness card. Then we're going to move to a new location. We're going to take an action based on that location. So it kind of summarizes the actions. The agencies, we can rest or spend research. Museum, we can spend research, take an artifact. University, we can place disturbance cards that we've collected to gain more knowledge. The warehouse is a solo agent, can tackle a disturbance. Underground, multiple agents tackle a disturbance. And then, of course, we have the cataclysm, which can be visited as well. And that is basically it. So then after we visit those places, we discard down. We have to discard just like a deck builder, we have to discard our entire hand except for the one that we decide to keep in reserve, if that makes sense. I think it will as we play. Alright guys, well heck man, this hasn't been too terribly long of a setup video for us, so perhaps we get started. So again, this is Shadows over Westminster. It was a Kickstarted game by Robert Huss, and it can be played solo or up to 4 players. Thematically, it feels and reminds me of like Arkham Horror Light or Eldritch Horror Light, and I think that was the intent. You know, not necessarily Cthulhuoid, but you know, some kind of supernatural horror. Could be Cthulhuoid. I haven't looked at all the cataclysms, and I don't know what all the cataclysms do, which is kind of entertaining. I'm trying not to look at them all. So why don't we get started? We'll play a round right now, and we'll end the video there, and then we'll pick it up next time and keep going. Okay, so we're going to start with both our character, the Watcher, Gregorius, and the Knight Templar in the agency, and we're going to take it from there. Now, we're not going to take an agency action, because remember, what we get to do first after we draw our darkness card is move. So the first thing we're going to do, and we'll start with Alexandria. She is going to go first. And again, I don't know if I've picked the right base abilities for a combination of these two characters or not. We're going to just see how it goes, because that's the way I like to roll. Okay, so this is our darkness deck. The first thing we're going to do is draw a darkness card. And you can see some of them are very simple. It says darkness at the university. Well, so what that means is, we already have darkness appearing at a place that's important to us. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so that is the first step that has, now we can move. And it seems to me, now let's draw our hand of 3 cards. Okay, so here's what we started with. We started with 2 basic investigations and a personal case log. So we know that we can't currently defeat any of the investigations, and we don't have enough to actually purchase anything at the museum, so there's really not much point in doing that. I don't have 2 points to spend on it. So we could go to, I think we can go to the underground and maybe start to play out some cards. and I'll show you how that works. So I think that's going to be her first bet. And this may be a bad move, I don't know, but we're going to go to the underground first. We move Alexandria to the underground, and she's beginning her investigation. So once she visits there, let me read to you a little bit about the underground. It says, I'll read it out loud to you. While most Londoners are familiar with the tube lines that carry millions of passengers every day, very few actually know about the vast labyrinth of abandoned tunnels and service shafts that sprawl beneath the city streets. These dark passages give rise to a myriad of foul beings, myriad, however you want to pronounce that, of foul beings who use them to further their reach throughout the city. Okay, the underground is similar to the warehouse, so we already talked about that. And again, based on its total number of agents. When an agent moves, this is what I wanted to show you. There it is. When an agent moves to the underground, draw a number of them from the disturbance deck based on the total number of players. We are 1 to 2, so we're going to draw one more. After the agents have reached the knowledge level 3, the university, we can worry about that later. But when we'll have one additional, and you can see that it's marked here, kind of special. That means when we've revealed the cataclysm, that's when we start to have some problems, additional problems there. So knowing that she moved there, we're going to draw a disturbance. It happens to be another cult activity, which is fine. So what is it? So I don't have to read both cards to you then. But what we've encountered there, it says a group of dark figures gathered around a swirling fire, their faces hidden by hooded robes. A low, otherworldly chanting carries on for miles, joined at times by the baying of hounds, and an icy hot wind begins to blow. So, sorry, I didn't read that very well to you, but we have 2 of those there, and we're going to play some investigations on that right now. And this is where we use our player mat. So, as you recall, we had this research and 2 investigations. So we're going to play these 2 there, and that means that we have invested some time in investigating that disturbance, the 2 disturbances, or rather the combined disturbances of the occult activity, and that basically is going to end the action that she takes. Now, because we're still there during investigation, we're unfortunately going to take an exposure card, which again goes into our discard pile. But we can also then, we're going to move to the point where we discard down, right? So basically when we discard, I'm sorry, I'm referring back to the rules again just to be sure I do it correctly. We discard all the cards left and draw back up, but we can put one in our reserve. And I don't know what the value of this is, but I think we'll start by, why not? We're going to put this first investigation, or the first research into our reserve. Then we have to take, because we're still there, we haven't completed an investigation that is actively happening, we have to take one of these and put it in our discard pile. Okay, so we used all our cards. The only thing currently in our discard pile is the exposure card, and it says rest at the agency to trash all exposure cards from your hand and reserve. So we can get rid of them, and that's going to be important to us at some point in time. Okay, now I notice I didn't play, when I play the last card in a complete investigation, you may remove 1 darkness. We haven't done that yet, so we want her to play the last card in the investigation, hopefully. Now we're going to move to the Watcher. I have a feeling, like most deck builders, these always start out very similarly. So here is his cards right here. So again, we don't have enough to actually defeat the current scenario, but what we can do is I can use, at the start of your turn, you may draw 1 card from your deck, then place 1 card from your hand back on top of your deck. Well, so there's no value in that right now, because the card on the top of it, well, actually there is, because I could get 3 investigations. So I think we're going to do that. We're going to draw so we get 3 investigations, and we're going to put this one back on the top of our deck. That is the Watcher's ability. Now let's go look at what we're going to do with those. Of course, the first thing we have to do, and I should have done this before we actually used a special ability, is draw the Darkness card. So we have a Darkness token that has appeared at the warehouse right up here, and you can see that. And now we're going to move him to there to help her with these investigations, these cult investigations. Now we need 8 total. So we know we don't have 8, but we do have 3 more. That'll put 5. So if our Templar can get 3 more, we'll see. This might have been a mistake. I might move him to, I don't know. But if she leaves there, she'll abandon those. So I think we're going to start that way. Again, I don't know if I'm playing this right yet or not, but we'll start that way. We're going to take these, and we're going to put all 3 of them at the top of this card there, meaning he's played these 3 investigations. Okay. Now we actually should have drawn up. So basically, we know that our Knight Templar is actually going to only have 2 investigations in her hand, whereas our other guy, he is going to only have 1 investigation left in his hand. So it's going to take both of them to complete this the investigation that they're on next turn. And because he completed his turn there and was not able to complete this, we do have to put an exposure card into his discard pile. So that basically ends a turn, and so you can see how that goes. It's fairly straightforward. The strategy is in combining our cards, trying to work them out, getting some of those artifacts into play. You know, like unfortunately, I think at the beginning, until you can increase your hand size by getting a couple of these disturbances. Like, see, one of the reasons I wanted to knock out these 2 disturbances is because we then get to see who gets to put them in their deck, and when they get to draw them again, they can come here and spend 2 to increase our knowledge level. Or they could spend 1 at a time. It doesn't really matter how they get spent, as long as they get spent. And so I thought, you know, we'd tackle one that I know is going to have 2, but then I thought, well, now I'm thinking maybe that wasn't the wisest idea because they're kind of difficult to do. So we have 5 of 8 investigations right now. Okay. Again, that's simple. This game is simple, so you can see that from a learning standpoint, it's not like trying to teach an Eldritch Horror or an Arkham Horror, but it still gives you that same feeling where we're investigating, we're pressed for time, this darkness is starting to press down on us and cause things. You haven't seen what happens when something gets engulfed, but you will, and that causes bad things for us. Plus we're cluttering our deck. So it's, again, light deck builder with the board game element that makes you feel like Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror, something along those lines. Anyway, pretty cool stuff, right? So let me know what you think. I'm going to get this posted soon, and we will talk to you soon, guys. I hope you enjoyed this playthrough of the Knight Templar and the Watcher. So Alexandria and Gregorius against something, we don't know what it is yet, in the shadows over Westminster. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. If you're interested, please go visit my other videos, visit me online, talk to me. I love it. It's all good stuff. I'm trying to remember the name of the site, but I joined this site that ranks board games. If you know what it is and you want to go, or board gaming sites rather, sites that like mine, or that have YouTube channels attached and all that good stuff. If you want to go there, I'd really love to, if you could help me boost my presence there, that'd be awesome. If you know what it is, I don't remember what it is. If someone wants to post that, that's great. I wasn't thinking about it too much when I saw it and signed up for it. But that'd be awesome. And if I do find it, I'll post it somewhere or do something. Again, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it, and take care.